Burnout is a choice, not a curse. What if you're actually choosing burnout every day? This realization freed me from my own exhaustion cycle. I was stuck in a pattern, answering emails at 11 p.m., skipping breaks, wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor, until I discovered how to break free. In this video, I'm sharing 5 mental frameworks that transformed my relationship with work and energy. These practical tools help me escape the burnout crossroads when nothing else worked. From treating your energy like a financial portfolio to implementing micro-recovery protocols, these approaches are backed by psychology research on how high performers maintain output without sacrificing themselves in the process. My breaking point. Remember when I showed up to that important client meeting with 2 different shoes? That wasn't just a funny mistake, it was my body screaming that I was at my breaking point. 1 black heel, 1 navy pump. The clients actually laughed it off, but I just stood there, frozen, staring down at my feet, wondering how I hadn't noticed. That moment still flashes in my mind because it was my wake-up call. You know, I used to think burnout was something that just happened to me, like catching a cold or getting stuck in traffic. An unavoidable force of nature that ambitious people eventually face. Just push through it, I'd tell myself. Everyone feels this way. But that's the thing. Burnout isn't something that randomly selects its victims. It follows patterns, and I was creating those patterns every single day without realizing it. When I hit rock bottom, it went beyond mismatched shoes. I was forgetting important deadlines that used to be second nature to me. I found myself crying in bathroom stalls between meetings, splashing cold water on my face, and reapplying makeup like nothing was wrong. I was working 24/7, but somehow drowning more with each passing day. My inbox had hundreds of unread messages. My notes were scattered across different apps, and I couldn't remember the last time I had a full night's sleep without waking up in a panic. My life 3 years ago was unsustainable. My calendar was a solid block of color. Back-to-back meetings with 0 buffer time. I'd rush from one conference room to another while simultaneously answering messages. My phone constantly buzzed with notifications, a stream of demands for my attention. My to-do list never ended. I'd complete 10 tasks and somehow end the day with 15 more. I stayed up until 2 a.m. for quiet hours to catch up, then dragged myself out of bed 4 hours later to repeat everything. Coffee wasn't a pleasure, it was life support. The worst part was the isolation. I stopped reaching out to friends because I didn't have time. I canceled plans because something came up at work. I missed my niece's birthday party because I was catching up on weekend work. I was physically present at family dinners, but mentally drafting emails. My partner would talk to me and I'd nod without hearing a word. I was there, but not really there. And I thought this was normal. I thought this was what success looked like. I believed if I pushed harder, worked longer, sacrificed more, eventually things would calm down. But they never did, because I never changed the underlying patterns. What shocked me was realizing how many little choices I made daily that led me straight into burnout. I'd say yes to projects when already overloaded. I'd check email first thing in bed. I'd skip lunch for just one more task. I'd promise deliverables on impossible timelines because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. Each decision seemed small, but together, they created a perfect storm. I tried the usual fixes. I took a vacation but spent half on my laptop. I bought fancy planners and productivity apps. I even considered quitting my job. But the turning point wasn't any of those things. It was something much more powerful that I discovered through desperation. After the mismatched shoes incident, I finally admitted something had to change. I couldn't continue this way. So I did what I always do when facing a problem. I researched. I read every book and study on burnout I could find. I talked to psychologists. I interviewed people who balanced ambition and well-being. What I discovered transformed everything. Burnout isn't simply about being busy or working hard. It's about specific psychological patterns and habits that drain us faster than we can recover. It's about how we think about our work, our worth, and our energy. And most importantly, it's about choices we make, often unconsciously, that we can learn to make differently. What I learned completely changed my relationship with work and energy. It's not a quick fix or productivity hack. It's a fundamental shift in approaching ambition while protecting well-being. These frameworks help me rebuild my career sustainably, accomplishing more without constantly feeling underwater. So is burnout really a choice, or are we victims of circumstance? The research shows we have more control than we think, not through vague advice like practice self-care or learn to say no, but through specific frameworks addressing the real psychological dynamics behind burnout. External factors matter. Toxic workplaces, economic pressures, systemic issues are real. But within those constraints, we have more agency than we realize. Think of it this way. We can't control the weather, but we can choose to bring an umbrella. We can't always control work circumstances, but we can control how we respond, structure our energy, and create boundaries. Those choices determine whether we burn out or thrive. My breakthrough came when I stopped seeing burnout as inevitable and recognized it as resulting from specific patterns I could change. It wasn't about working less, though sometimes that's part of it. It was about working differently, understanding the hidden dynamics of energy, boundaries, thinking, patterns, recovery, and purpose. Looking back at who I was 3 years ago, I barely recognize that person. I'm still driven and passionate about my work, but now I channel that drive in ways that sustain rather than drain me. My ambition and well-being aren't enemies anymore, they're partners.